The Bengals are back in the hunt after a crazy week 4 in the NFL. Plus, we're handing out some first quarter Bengals 2022 awards. That's coming up on the Wincinnati podcast.
Yes. Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Houshmandzada, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
Time to be a Bengals
How do you balance being a professional athlete and family obligation?
These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time?
Yeah.
Shock the world.
Welcome to the Wincinnati podcast. We've got Ace back with us. We've got Zim and Silva here running point. Guys, how you doing? How was the weekend?
It was a great weekend, bro. I mean, got to relax, watch some Red Zone, watch the rest of the league, watch the rest of the division take the L. I mean, I don't think it could have been any better.
Man, remember that first time when we didn't take advantage of it and we watched all them other teams lose? Oh, I was, it was so good. And I think it was Mike Hill might have put out a tweet and just said, man, it was good to just be laying back and knowing that you got the dub earlier. And I just thought that was a good Sunday, right? Like after the
great Sunday. For sure.
It was good because it was the opposite of the last time it happened, where the Bengals had already handled their business and we got to watch the other three choke. Whereas the last time, the early games gave us the other three teams, and then it was like up to the Bengals later on in the day to take care of business. And fortunately, they didn't. But yeah, a great weekend. A great weekend that means that the Bengals are back in the hunt. We saw the win on Thursday night. What a crazy game. What a huge win for this team, back now at 500. So we will talk about what that means. We'll have some reactions. No, we haven't been on since the win. So it's our chance to kind of air out some of the things that we saw from that game. We will also present, we've now hit 4 weeks into the season. We've gone through the first month of September. So we are handing out the 2022 Bengals first quarter awards. So stick around for some of those, and we will get Ace and Zim's takes on those. We also want to talk about the confidence meter. Now that we've gone through these 4 games, the next 4 games are really important. We will find out who we are more confident in the next 4 weeks. Is it the offense or the defense? That's coming up next. All right, guys. So before we get to what we thought about the game, Zim, you were actually at the game, the only one of us 3 that was actually there. What was the atmosphere like? For me, watching from home, it felt like Ohio State, Penn State, late year, like huge college atmosphere. That's what it felt like coming through the TV. I can't imagine what it was like in person.
And it was incredible. I never really thought about it. Like when I was watching the game later on, like I was like, okay, this is probably what people saw in different instances, different things like that. But just from a tailgate experience, I thought it was awesome. I thought the tailgate was incredible. Like that was one of my favorite tailgates that I had been at. Shout out to Bengals Gym. Shout out to Gold Star, who provided a lot of food. And guess what? Midwest Best had amazing food there at the. Tim and Nicole, they were there. Ace, they were at the tailgate. It was lit. It was on point. I don't know if y'all seen the video circulating. They actually gave an intoxicated microphone. Who would have thought? And so I went crazy on the mic for a second. So I don't know if that's a good idea. I think it ended up pretty good. I don't know. I'll watch it later. But later on, we go into the game, and I remember Silva sent me a message, or he replied to it, and he said, man, it looked like like you guys are going into like a fight or something like that.
Yeah.
Because all of the 3-0 Dolphins stuff was going on, me, in my world, all these people talking about like how good the Dolphins were. I really felt like it was like, all right, here comes Burrow. Let's, like I debuted the Burrow 316 and stuff. I was like, here's Burrow, like about to, channel in and take all these people to church on this one. And then when I was walking down that hallway, and then I opened the door and the crowd was just like, I was like, God, this is crazy. Like it was unreal to me. I'll never forget when I opened up this door one time, and then in the crowd was, and it was all white for me to see it for the first time. And I made sure I was on time to the game, thing like that. It was super dope. Like if you haven't got the pay cord, this is not a paid ad. If you have or yet, I think you should, man, because when we're winning, that place is electric, bro.
So I want to talk about now kind of what you've thought about what we saw on the field. Ace, you watched at home like I did. What impressed you? What are sort of your general thoughts on that win against Miami?
I mean, I gotta agree with them. The crowd was crazy. Like seeing Paycor Stadium like that was super impressive to the point that it caused the Dolphins to have false starts and penalties, delays of games, and things like that. That was insane to watch. But also, I think for me, the defense, bro. Like I personally thought, the defense played very well through 3 games, right? But they did face some offenses that were kind of shaky. You talk about Pittsburgh, you talk about Cooper Rush with the Cowboys, who are looking better now. But at the time, I didn't feel like they had that test, right? And I feel like this Miami offense with Tyreek Hill, with Jalen Waddle, that was going to be a test with them, with Tua playing at an elite level. Let's just say that at the time was playing at an elite level. The way that they were able to really control those guys, to force turnovers, to really shut Jalen Waddle down, I think was extremely impressive. Tyreek got his, but it wasn't a situation where they really broke that game open. And I think offensively, T. Higgins, man, I mean, that was for me T's coming out party, I feel like, in that game, similar to last year against the Ravens the second time. So for me, it was impressive to see them play that well balanced on TV in a high-stakes game.
Tim, what did you think?
I was blown away by the crowd itself. I thought like one of the things I noticed from the game itself, like one person that hasn't got a lot of notoriety, I think, from the game that just popped like every single time. Whether I think the matchup that I liked it against him going against Little, but Sam Hubbard. I just thought like Sam Hubbard might have played one of the best games that I can remember.
Absolutely.
From a pass rush standpoint, he was showing up. He was knocking Little over. And now Little isn't, that was a matchup that I told Dolphins fans that I think that the Bengals should exploit. But you didn't know how our defensive line would respond without Reader. So seeing Hubbard get actual pass rush, crashing down in run defense, have him set the edge like the Tyreek Hill one on the first drive, him setting the edge right there and then making a play on that while Pratt, I think, held him up like it was. I mean, bro, he was going crazy. That was one of my favorite Sam Hubbard games of all time. Von Bell, absolutely a dog. Logan Wilson, for all the arguments, for everything that we've ever talked about, like all summer, just telling people about how good Logan Wilson is. Week after week, consistently stacking up all these good performances, leaving off. I feel like this team, when everybody says they try to use this as a knock against Joe Burrow or something like that, like, and I think like if you were insecure about like your team, you might feel a certain type of way, but I'm not. People told me for so long the defense carried in the playoffs. The defense carried. The kicker carried. Okay. Like their defense is playing really good. Like let them carry. Like so what? Like and Joe Burrow, even on a light day, we as Bengals fans know how good Burrow is. To see Burrow throw 287 for 2 touchdowns, no picks, clean effort, not even his top-notch football. It's just like you pair that up. Like when Burrow really gets in his bag, it goes against like, like less than defenses and stuff, because the Dolphins coming into the game were pretty good defensively as well, too. That's another underrated portion of the game, whatever. So like that in itself, it's a lot of performances. I thought T. Higgins, like, I hear people say that too. I think what it is it's the Thursday night. It's the nighttime. It's like stacking those up too. A lot of the conversations in the offseason were like, T. Higgins is in top 20 because you never seen him. Think of if you're not a Bengals fan, when would you have seen the Bengals? You saw him in the Super Bowl, and if you're a Bengals hater, you're like, oh, well, he pulled the guy's face mask, right? Prior to that, they didn't even watch our playoff games. So when would you have seen him? Thursday night against the Jaguars? Like, that's the game that Tyler
I don't even think he played in that game.
Right, exactly. So you see what I'm saying? So now I was watching a show just now, and somebody was like, man, T. Higgins might be top 10. I'm like, you're thinking that now after that one game? You clearly haven't seen T. Higgins dominate like all throughout. Like Y'all think he just fell on 1,100 yards? Oh, yeah, T. Higgins get 1,100 yards because of Jamar Chase. No, T. Higgins been mossing people every single week since he got in the league. So I just love the fact that the primetime games gave people that we've been vying for all this time an opportunity to showcase this stuff. And catch this, that wasn't nowhere near how good the Bengals play. So, like, you're like, man, Logan Wilson solid. Von Bell. Oh, y'all thought Eli Apple was trash? How about Eli Apple almost had a pick on the sideline? How about Eli Apple only allowed one catch to Tyreek Hill for 7 yards after y'all said he was going to get cooked? When y'all had all the memes and all that stuff ready. But now y'all super quiet. So it goes to, like, kind of chisel away at this lucky narrative. And I love that. I love the primetime aspect of it. And I thought our team, if people follow us, they really respond when their back is against the wall, and they do enjoy the bright lights.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was a great performance. Now, something we talked about with our guest last week, Colleen Wolf, was something felt wrong about at the time, and this is before the game and before the injury. Something felt really wrong about how the Dolphins were handling Tua's injury from the Sunday game against the Bills. And what we saw, and was really, really tough to watch and a really difficult thing to see, was a very clean textbook takedown by Tupa. And all this Twitter chatter that he should be suspended for that hit is ridiculous. It's the most casual take or teal lensed take I've ever heard.
I was gonna say, are you just saying those are only Dolphin fans telling you that, right?
Absolutely.
After we put boys in the air and we pack them out, Ryan, I'm telling you straight up, I don't even know all of them on mute. I haven't seen any of this, so I'm learning this as you go along. I haven't seen one flipper after that game.
Oh man, I've never seen a fan base cry more in my life, and that's 15 plus years on this Bird app. But so we saw what happened in the game to Tua. What did you guys think about? I mean, obviously, everyone, the crowd chanting Tua was amazing. What did you guys think about sort of that moment, and then what we've learned after with the NFLPA doing the investigation and certain people being fired for not doing their job and handling the situation properly?
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Zim.
I thought we were ping pong. All right, so let me. I was saying this, and I tweeted this when this happened. Everybody in the stadium, everybody took a knee. I mean, as far as the players go, everything about the moment was scary. Nobody was excited. Nobody was celebrating. It was a bad spot, and it wasn't comfortable. It was the one negative, I think, in the game, because as a competitor, I don't wish that on anybody. So I want to say that, like, and I hope Tua gets everything right. But I also tweeted out something right after it, that he should have never been playing. And everybody knows that he shouldn't have been playing. So when everybody gets shocked sometimes when certain things like this happen, it always makes me be like, bro, we said that though. Like people that really love football or really were watching that situation, but it just goes to show you the level of desperation that some people or some organizations have to having their players go and win a game. Like, they don't care about certain things or certain protocols that are in place to protect players, and they get blinded by winning games so much that they can't take it into account that what if that's somebody I love? Like, would you let your son stumble? Would you let anybody in your family stumble in a game like that the week prior and then tell them to run out there 4 days later? You wouldn't. No. But as fans and as an organizational standpoint or institutional standpoint, everybody doesn't have the same moral code. And I thought that was on full display, and they should be held accountable for it. Anybody that's trying to blame the Bengals for making a tackle, I'm not even listening to that, like, whatever. But everybody knew this before the game. We talked about it. Everybody talked about it. They almost act like it was a joke. Like, we've never seen scary incidents like that happen. And I just think it sucks that people had to learn the hard way with that or whatever, because I don't think it's right.
Yeah, for me, I think it really was scary just because of, his fingers. I've seen that happen once before. I think it was with a running back. I don't know if he was on the Chargers. He was a smaller running back. I remember that happening, and his body kind of like went stiff while he had the concussion. That was the scariest part, I think, about it. From my standpoint, I agree with you guys. Everybody felt like Tua shouldn't have gone back into that Bills game. Like everyone saw it and was like, all right, that was clearly a concussion. They're trying to get around it and get him back into the game. And, I don't think you can really blame Tua in that situation, because if you've ever played football before, a lot of guys who've been in those situations always try to go back in, shake it off, and play. So I don't blame him, but the staff and ownership. And now we hear that there's this, independent guy that's getting fired. Like, that's just BS to me. Like, that just screams cover up to me. I'm pretty sure that they tried to force Tua back into that game because it was against the Bills. But no, he should not have been playing in that game against the Bengals. And the Bengals shouldn't be held responsible, I think, for their player, Josh Tupou, because number one, it was not a dirty hit. Like, if we just all look at it, it was a clean hit. Josh Tupou did not put Tua in that situation. The Dolphins did. I think that they'll be investigated, and that this will come out that they basically showed negligence, as it basically already has. So, it was a scary moment. I was just hoping the kid was okay, especially if his parents were watching the game, people that know him watching the game. I'm glad to hear that he had feeling in all of his extremities. He wasn't paralyzed or anything like that. So I think that, prayers go out to him, but glad that he made that recovery. But yeah, that was crazy. And to me, the most disappointing part about it is it overshadowed kind of the Bengals' victory in that game. And the next day, everyone was talking about Tua and the Dolphins and why they put him in that situation.
I want to say one thing real quick. What I think is really sad too? A lot of Dolphins fans are hiding behind that as a justification to get the attention off the fact that they weren't the team that they thought they were. So they're trying to be like, I remember after the game, Bengals fans interacting with Dolphins fans, they're like, it's not about the game anymore. We're really caring about Tua. Like, I want to believe you, but I don't. I really don't. Like, the people that are talking about that Tupou, like, tackle and stuff, those are the same people that talk all that trash about the Dolphins are undefeated, da-da-da-da-da-da. I get it. We care about Tua and his well-being or whatever, but at the end of the day, you were thinking about winning a football game, and I think it's distasteful, and I think it's so fake to me, and I hate when people online or the people that you're talking about use that as a cover-up to get away from the fact that you lost that game. And I'm gonna give you another quick hot take. I think Teddy Bridgewater maybe not over the middle isn't as good as Tua, but he showed in that game his deep ball is better than Tua. He showed that he can run the system better. If you go look at that, it's a sophisticated college system full with RPOs that get Tua different situations where he can throw the ball quick and have a couple of quick options to these guys that are really, really fast. So this concept that Tua is like the next coming of whatever, I don't buy it in my mind. That's just my personal opinion. This has nothing to do with the injury. I'm just strictly talking football. When Teddy Bridgewater came out there and played, he looked a lot better. If you really know about football and really watch football, his deep ball looked better. The way he went through different plays, the Sam Hubbard knocked over Little and almost sacked him or whatever, and Bridgewater got out of that, whatever. Bridgewater made a lot of different plays. I don't think that they miss a beat without Bridgewater. I feel like they'll be able to run the same exact action and stuff. I think what the truth is, they ran into a better football team. That's my honest to God opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that Bridgewater, I mean, it was even rumored at some points, right? Until Tua got off to the hot start that he did, because I won't deny him that. But there were still people saying that they expected at some point Teddy Bridgewater could ascend and take that job. It was, I think, like Zim is saying, not a far fall off when you go from Tua to Teddy Bridgewater at all. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, so I mean, just to put a bow on it, it was a huge win for Cincinnati. Huge win on Thursday night in prime time. And we touched on it a little bit in the beginning, but it really put pressure on the rest of that division, seeing them win on Thursday night. And we saw that all three teams folded in the second half in their respective games. Do you think any of that had to do with scoreboard watching Thursday night, feeling any pressure, or these are just teams that took an L?
I would probably say, they definitely were watching, but I think that they all knew that they had some tough matchups. I think definitely Baltimore knew that's why they came out so hot against the Bills, right? But it just didn't go in their favor in the second half. They knew that they had an uphill task, and I'm pretty sure that they were thinking in the back of their heads, we got Cincinnati coming back for the rematch. You talk about the Browns. I mean, they were facing an uphill battle because you lose Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. And a lot of people kind of slept on that Atlanta offense. Like, believe it or not, statistically before this game, I know it sounds crazy, but they were like a top 10 offense in terms of yardage in the league in Atlanta. So, I thought Atlanta caught them slipping. I had a feeling that the Jets were going to beat the Steelers. I mean, we played them last week. We knew that Jets team was a pretty solid team. Like, they weren't trash. And so I think a lot of it may have been scoreboard watching, but a lot of it was they just couldn't pull it out against those teams.
I honestly think this is one of the knocks that I think me just being like, whether it was football in high school, at any level, one thing that I value a lot more than the average fan, I think, is teams that win close margin games. Like the Bengals get a knock on like a lot of different times, or like their record from last year, or not completely like blowing teams out. But there's something to say about teams that are able to pull out close victories. Sometimes teams get out on teams or whatever, and then they ride that, and they're like a lot of times one-dimensional teams. A lot of the teams in our division are one-dimensional football teams. So when they get a good lead on you and they get you on a point that they want you to for a predominantly run offense, then they just sit on the clock, run the ball down your throat, and you're done. And that's how it goes. But a team that can carve out like a lot of close victories, even in our 2 losses, I always telling everybody, I'm like, y'all feel like Joe Burrow took a step back, and in the Steelers game, he came back at the 4 picks and came back and tied the game up. No other quarterback's doing that. He got sacked 7 times. Then he comes back in the Cowboys game, does the same thing. Comes back in that game, ties the game up and everything. Like, then, I give credit to the Cowboys, but this team is super clutch. So it puts you at this point where you go back, and I'm just like, bro, the Bengals are built to win. Like, if a game is close and Joe Burrow got the ball in his hands, they're going to win a lot of those games. You see that Josh Allen, as much as people might say, well, the Bills ain't who we thought they was, but you saw what happened when you gave Joshua that ball at the end. They are who you thought they was. If you value like that's the stuff I look at. When he got the ball, you knew it was over. Right. When LJ got the ball, I didn't know it was over. I didn't know. I thought they should have maybe kicked the field goal. Maybe they should have. I didn't know that. And then when you go back and look at the end of that game, you like, he had a dude wide open right there. He should have threw that ball. As great as he is. And then you could look at the brisket game and all, like all these different things. That's the thing that Deshaun Watson or a lot of these different things bring to a team that GMs are smart enough to know that fans aren't really paying attention to. They're paying attention to like, oh, did this team get blown out? Oh, y'all barely won. Like, yeah. Like, not Bengals versus Dolphins, like continuously. Oh, y'all barely won it. Yeah. Because if the game is close, like that's why spreads are like 3 points, 2 points, 3.5, whatever. Because if a game is close, the better quarterback wins that game 9 times out of 10. So when those games ended the way that they went, it just showed me what I know. Like the better quarterback 9 times out of 10 is going to win, or your team isn't clutch enough or doesn't have a clutch gene in some of those moments, and you got to build that up sometimes, or sometimes you just don't got it.
Yeah, well, this team's given us plenty to smile about the last couple of weeks. Zim, tell us about Pierce Dental, how they could help some of our listeners' smiles.
Pierce Dental Group is one of my favorite groups to talk about, I guess, on this pod or whatever. I actually saw our guy, Dr. Pierce, at the game. He was, y'all talk about sweets. Yeah, he was doing his thing. So Pierce was doing his thing. So one thing about him is that he's always been doing really good work for a lot of players on the team. He's been doing a lot of good work for a lot of people in the Cincinnati area. Just because you aren't in the Ohio area doesn't mean that you can't get a free consultation. If you are in the Ohio area or Cincinnati area, you can go downtown to Fountain Square and go get a free consultation in person. If you need a dentist, you should join Pierce Dental Group in Cincinnati, where confidence starts here, on piercedentalgroup.com. Go there, or you can follow them on any social media. Tell them Ace and Zim sent you.
All right, you guys big fans of the Oscars and the Grammys? Well, we're going to hand out our own awards. We're taking the opportunity now after 4 weeks to hand out the 2022 Bengals First Quarter Awards. So, Ace, I want to start with you here. We'll both answer. You'll both answer these questions, but Ace, let's start with you on this one. biggest surprise so far for the Bengals in 2022?
I think the biggest surprise so far in 2022, I think it has to be Von Bell, bro. Like I'm a Von Bell fan. I think that he had an underrated season last year, but I think the level that he's been playing at, and one of the most consistent players other than Cheeto in the secondary, has been Von Bell. I mean, look at last game. You talk about the 2 interceptions. This dude is morphing into just a cornerstone for this franchise. Like, you could arguably say that he led the way with the transition of this team in the Zach Taylor era after that huge hit to Juju. Like, ever since then to now, Von Bell has had his imprints on this football team. You talk about the playoffs against the Chiefs last season, and he just having Eli's back in that game with the 2 interceptions. So I would probably say, for me, it's Von Bell.
The biggest surprise for me this season, I was telling Ace about this earlier. Actually, I was telling our guy Eric on the 513, if you guys don't get a chance, please make sure you check out some of the other shows on our pod. I promise you, great content. We got the new Wincy. We got the 513 with our boy Eric, and we got Jake and Mon with the Bengals Pulse. But check that out. I talked to Eric earlier today, and I was saying the biggest surprise so far to me is La'el Collins. Because in my mind, I was thinking that was probably going to be the biggest acquisition of the all season. And it's been a shock to me that he hasn't delivered like what I thought. And clearly, I even went back to his playoff game with the Cowboys. He looked really, really good. So this notion that, oh, Bengals just got some hurt guy. Like, I don't know when he tweaked his back or whatever like that. He didn't look hurt in the playoffs. He looked pretty damn good to me. You see him a lot of times, like even on Thursday night, you see him a lot of times when he thinks he gets beat, he's like lunging forward. If you see him like getting up, he gets up slow. Like, it's a lot of stuff like that. So I don't know like when he tweaked it, but one of the bigger surprises to me is that going from Isaiah Prince to La'el Collins, I'm like, the run game is just going to take off. Like, I kept on talking about like weak side runs, like bouncing back, misdirection, coming back to his size and him in space. And that hasn't happened yet. And that's one of the things that I'm a little weary about. I still feel like it's an upgrade, but right now he's not showing up like I thought he would. Like, he's not the glass eater that I thought. In contrast, though, the one guy that people didn't talk that much about, Teddy Karras, Teddy Football. I think after last week, I thought he played his meanest game. That was maybe Ted Karras' best game. I thought he was really, really good in that game too. So like, that's one guy, he got paid less than all the other 3, but he's been the last couple of weeks, he's really been doing really, really well, bro. Like I thought Kappa and La'el would be like the guys, and Karras would just be, a solid piece. I feel like he might be one of the best linemen on his line right now, and from a character standpoint, he's a fan favorite that fast.
Yeah, I think, we're seeing, especially when it comes to the offensive line, we're seeing the early struggles start to improve as with experience, as we kind of, once we saw that initial game and we're justifiably worried, we sort of talked ourselves down by saying, give them time, give them reps. And we're seeing with time and reps that they are improving. Zim, let's go back to you first on this one. What has been the biggest disappointment so far? I know the surprise for you was La'el Collins. Is something else out there a bigger disappointment?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I kind of just you're thinking positive surprises only. All right, okay.
You got the Ted Karras one in there, so we'll give him that one.
All right, so cool. The biggest disappointment to me, all right, well, you know how I feel about La'el. I don't feel like it's a complete bust or anything like that. I don't want anybody to take it like that. It's still an upgrade. I really thought for this team it would put us over the top, and maybe that will happen. But so far it hasn't happened. But the biggest disappointment to me right now is the run game. And I guess he ties in with that. I never thought, like, with this line, with those guys that have they're predominantly run blockers, I never thought that they would come in and Mixon would be at 2.2 yards a carry or something like that. Like, I just didn't think that. And I think it ties in. It's part Mixon. It's part offensive line. I feel like early on, like, he's still getting a bunch of snaps, where he's met in the backfield. He's still getting a lot of holes that just aren't there. And then there's a lot where he's not making the right decisions too. And maybe the ankles bother him or whatever. I still believe in Mixon. I still feel like he's like the man. Like, and I don't get people being down on him early, which is crazy to me because Mixon is still a dog. I just think that I thought that the offensive line in the run game as a whole would be at a better spot. And I think when that happens and they run for 4 point whatever, it forces the defense's hands like we haven't seen. We're not there yet. So now teams aren't having to commit that extra safety to the box on a every down scenario. When they start to do that, it's over for everybody. The T. Higgins one-on-one, the Jamar Chase one-on-one later in the game, those are the two scenarios that normally last year, those are touchdowns every single time. Or T got one, right? But they're all predicated on people allocating too many people to other areas on the team. When they do that and Joe sees it, there's nothing you could do to stop it. And I keep on telling everybody that. But once the run game kicks in, you'll see a lot of everything.
Yeah, I think for me, outside of the run game and offensive line, I think the most disappointing aspect would be some of the younger players that I thought would have a bigger role with this team. You talk about Chris Evans, right? I'm pretty sure we expected him to have a much bigger role. You even talk about Joseph Asai in some of those earlier games. I thought that he would have a bigger role. But also Dax Hill, a lot of people talked about it. There hasn't really been a plan to get those guys super involved, but I think that plan is playing out. So I'm somewhat disappointed, but I think that it is something that they can turn around going forward, especially with us just being in the first quarter of the season.
All right. Well, those have been obviously disappointments too. For me, it's been the run game, but I stand with Zim here, thinking that it's just a matter of time, and I've lost no faith in Joe Mixon. Let's talk about something a little more fun here. Your favorite play of the season so far, Ace. I want to start with you.
Yeah, Doc. Like Zim touched on it a little bit. There was a wild debate on who the best linebacker in the AFC North was. Logan Wilson, that deep interception. The thing that makes it so funny about this is the backstory is there was an argument in terms of the depth of target of where Logan Wilson was in coverage. That was the whole debate. How is he giving up this much? And the funny, ironic part about it is it's a Tampa 2 look, and he drops back super deep and goes up and gets the interception. So for me, it's going to have to be that Logan Wilson one.
Hey, hold on. I got to give people a quick insider. Ace is petty. Because, look, we try to tell people out there in the internet world that Logan Wilson was really good. And they in their defense, they try to talk about his depth and like on the coverage and stuff. And I just thought it was the silliest. I thought that was so stupid. Like, I'm still mad at that people actually just didn't say, all right, well, let me go check him out. You know what I'm saying? Instead, right. Well, what's the depth of each one of his targets like to take a defense or stick up for another guy that they like? Logan Wilson is a dog. Right now he's playing at a top 5 linebacker level in the NFL right now. And anybody that knows anything about football, like that play you're talking about is crazy. He starts at the line of scrimmage, drops back 20 yards, makes a damn catch like a wide receiver. I mean, like linebackers are dropping that every week. I watched the 49ers drop 2 of them last night. My favorite play of the season is the DJ Reader play. I think it's from week 1. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. As long as I've been watching football, I've been watching film for like the last 3 years or something. I've never seen a defensive line almost get knocked over, bowled over, relying on one knee. I mean, almost to the ground, still gets up and tackle. And I know it's not the sexy wide receiver 100-yard catch or whatever, but just from a 300-something pound man, like the agility, the flexibility. I know, like, shout out to Ashley, who does Pilates with a lot of guys. I follow her on Instagram. Y'all should check them out. It's called Ashley's by Pilates. Like, our boy Leg goes there. Chris Evans, everybody goes there. I think Reader does too. But the flexibility of them for him to make that play, I put it on my Twitter if y'all are like kind of questioning like what's the play. but I mean, like he's about to get thrown to the ground. He looks like he's on the ground, but bounces back up like RoboCop to just line up and center and tackle this dude. It's just a play you don't see. I haven't seen it. If somebody could show me a play like that, like I don't know, it's amazing. Like I've never seen a big guy do that. Like so, I gotta show love to the trenches. That's my play.
Now you guys had some plays, I think, that you wanted to highlight that didn't exactly become official plays, but were just so impressive that they couldn't be ignored after the first 4 weeks.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we all know T. Higgins was in on that one, man. I mean, Jets game, fantasy owners, Bengals fans, we all know, like, T. Higgins definitely was in, right? The only person that didn't think he was in was the rest. But, bro, I think me and Zim are going to talk about 2 plays that really could have been catch of the year, and they both didn't even count. Zim, talk to him about yours, bro.
Me and Ace are sitting right there at the 10-yard line, live right there. I mean, I'm talking about game is we could call game right now at this point. Jamar Chase makes a catch like it looked like a Tracy McGrady like back in the day. It's like this, like he's about to cock back for a dunk, catches the ball. I still think to this day, if they would have called it a touchdown, they wouldn't have overturned it. But they were so quick, they never reviewed it, nothing. One-handed grab in between 2 defenders in the back of the end zone, game over. Steelers fans next to us go walking home. They out of there in tears. They don't even review it. No. And then they line it back up, and then we go for it on 4th down, don't even get it, right? Yeah. Then we bro, it was crazy. Think about that. And then remember, Chase had the touchdown, right? You know, wasn't that like the play or 2 before? Oh no,
yep.
That was the next
him at the 1. They marked him at the 1 or something like that. Yep.
Just crazy. I'm gonna tell you a super, super underrated play, and I'm gonna put it on my Twitter tonight. That Tyler Boyd throw on Thursday night is a dime, bro. like if you go look at that throw, like that gets picked. Like he threw that like a backup quarterback, bro. Like that play, like from where I was sitting at, I was like, oh no, don't throw it. And then when he threw it, I'm like, yes, throw it. But like it was one of them ones. I was like, what are you doing? Don't throw it. It's 2 guys right there. Bro, he threw a tight window pocket shot. like quarterbacks. There's bum quarterbacks in the league right now that aren't making that throw that Tyler Boyd threw. Like that is a super underrated throw.
All right. We love defense. Bengals are having a great start to the season on defense. Only 4 touchdowns through the first 4 games. Who's your defensive player or the best defensive player? Who gets that award for you guys?
DJ Reader.
For me, it's Logan Wilson, man. Logan Wilson is playing crazy right now.
When Reader went out of the whatever through 3 weeks, DJ Reader was the highest rated player in Pro Football Focus. And I'm not talking about AFC North. I ain't talking AFC, the NFL. Every single week, he dominated double team after double team after double team. He allowed Najee Harris and company to average 1.8 yards a carry in that game. He comes back the following week and dominates in that game. Comes back the week after that and like a force. And I think the Dolphins don't have heavy hitters in my mind, but I thought I saw a lot of different runs that I thought that Tupac played a good game, but there were runs cracked off that if DJ Reader's there, I don't think they're getting those. They had like 2-3 big runs, but Reader didn't allow any of that. He took on so many double teams that allowed Logan Wilson and Pratt to just go free. Like Reader was dominated. That was the best play that Reader has played all in this whole entire career, I thought, in those first 3 games.
Yeah, for me, is Logan Wilson. I just think him leading the team in tackles right now, him commanding that defense as the inside linebacker, making sure people are in the right areas, I think has really just put his imprint on the defense. The other linebackers are playing good as well, but, even without Jermaine Pratt going out and Akeem Davis-Gaither coming in, helping those guys along, to me, he's just kind of taken over, I think, as one of the young leaders on the defense, and I think he's really leaving his mark. And I believe there was someone that tweeted it out that said that Logan Wilson is playing like a top 5 linebacker right now in the NFL.
For sure.
at this moment. So for me, it would be Logan Wilson. I definitely see where Zim is coming with DJ Reader because he was playing out of his mind before he got hurt. But yeah, for me, it's Logan Wilson. But I mean, honestly, I could pick a couple players on the defense. Cheeto.
Bro, what about
Von
Cheeto?
Bell. It's
Cheeto.
a lot of Hendrickson.
Bro,
Cheeto
in that Jets game. If we didn't have Cheeto in that Jets game, you lose that game. You probably give up. And like you can say whatever you want about Flacco. Cheeto made some plays that when I went to go watch them plays, he's not even on the screen in some of them plays, and then he's back when the ball comes out or whatever, and then he's right there every single time. I mean, I thought he played that Jets game like he saved us a bunch of times. He is a dog. Like you said,
BJ Hill, like a lot of people are Von Bell. BJ too. Yeah. BJ is doing his thing in that role, coming in for Larry Ogunjobi as well.
Facts, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this is a great problem to have. There's no wrong answer when talking about the best defensive player. You could make a case for literally any of the starting, 11 or absolutely Mike Hilton, Sam Hubbard. Just the list goes on and on. Akeem Davis-Gaither had a great game filling in for Jermaine Pratt. So kudos to the entire.
He looked pretty damn good in the Dolphins game too, bro.
He was on Tyreek Hill that one play, right? Bro, wasn't he on Tyreek Hill in the slot?
Yes, yep. Bro. The craziest thing, and we'll talk about that purple team or whatever, I'm sure at some point, which I don't want to talk about, but I have to because I want to do a service to everybody. But the craziest thing that people say to us about last season is that we didn't have injuries. And then you watch somebody like Akeem Davis-Gaither ball, like how he's been balling right now. Or you watch a Logan Wilson who missed all that time with a torn labrum, and we ain't had no injuries. That's why I can't take them seriously, bro. I'm sorry. Those are key components of our team that if we didn't have them guys, we might be looking at 1-3, whatever, staring at 0 whatever down the face. You ain't got a Logan Wilson, and y'all telling me I ain't have injuries? You can't be serious. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get to our final award. And usually this is an award reserved for offensive players, but really you guys can go with anybody on the roster here, or maybe it's even let's keep it to the players. Who's the MVP through the first 4 games of the season?
For me, it's going to be T. Higgins. And the reason that I say that is in the last 2 games, if you really look at it, he's really opened it up because a lot of teams have tried to take Jamar Chase away because he is one of the best weapons, if not the best weapon on the offense. So T. Higgins, I think, really has had to step it up, and that shows his value because if they didn't have him to go to with the cover 2 and the Tampa 2 and the double teams and the bracket coverage on Uno, I'm wondering where else they will be going, especially with the run game struggling as well. So I would say that it would actually be T. Higgins right now.
I'm going to say this is going to shock a lot of people.
You going to give me 9?
I got to go 9. You can't. Hey, look, Joseph Lee Burrow comes out. Listen, if you're a Bengals fan and you know what adversity is about, Joseph Lee Burrow comes out there. Shout out to the Joe Burrow Foundation that they made an announcement today too. Donate $9 if you can, right? But it's the story of a Bengals fan. You had 4 turnovers, but you persevered through that. You came to that game, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, leading the team to victory twice in must win. He comes to the podium, everybody relax. And here we are. You know what I'm saying? No Joe Burrow, like number 9. I don't care. I hope some of our ops is in here tonight. I want everybody to hear me loud and clear. I don't care who you got. I don't care about no Nick Chubb. I don't care about your defense. I don't care about nothing. I don't care about anything. Until I'm mathematically out of it, it's number 9. And you can't stop me. I'm never going anywhere. The next 10 years, until I'm mathematically out of it, until you see him down or you see the zeros on the clock, you better pray. Number 9.
Well, you know who else is an MVP? Midwest Best Barbecue.
Wings, and we got you with them on our wings. Uno wings. They tell me that them Uno wings will make you do the gritty. Them Uno wings will make you do the gritty. Uno wings. Come and get them Uno wings. Uno wings. Who they gonna be? Them Uno wings. Uno wings. MB's got you with them Uno wings. Uno wings. They tell me that them Uno wings will make you do the gritty. Them Uno wings will make you do the gritty.
Zim, tell them again where they can get the best wings and who had what the best flavors were at the tailgate the other night.
The address, I'm sorry, I don't have it on the screen. Can you tell me that? I
Hey,
think
hit him with the address.
669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio.
Thank you, Ace. My favorite, I like the Uno wings. If you got like a little spice, Uno wings for sure. But I like the Grippo wings. Those are probably my favorite right now. If you've ever had Grippo wings or whatever, I mean Grippo chips, then you kind of understand what we're coming from. But they taste like that, but an angelic level of chicken that you've never had before. No grease, clean food, clean eating from great people. It's amazing. That's my favorite spot, bro. They was at the tailgate, bro. Wings was at the tailgate. Macaroni was at the tailgate. Midwest was at the tailgate. It was lit. Goodness gracious.
All right, so one more conversation for us to have before we get off here, and it has to do more with, we've talked about wrapping up the previous 4 games. I want to talk about for the next 4 games, who are you more confident in, the offense or the defense?
I'm going to say the defense, bro, because from a creative standpoint, I just haven't seen enough. Like, the reason why I'm like Bridgewater is going to be fine for the Dolphins because I understand that their scheme, the different things that they do are going to cause problems. I watched the Chargers play. They're just going to cause problems for people. I don't feel like that with the Bengals every single week. The one thing I do know is that all these guys ain't going nowhere, and I feel like the depth behind them, like a Dax Hill, TTB that's about to come off all these different things behind them, I feel like it's strong enough to like carry it, at different points where Joe doesn't have to throw for 400 yards or whatever. And just so we know, Joe Burrow's leading the AFC North in passing yards at 1,100. And at this time last year, he had less yards, and he ended up with 4,600 yards.
Yeah, I agree with him with the defense, but I'll go another direction. I'll go with the offense, especially Baltimore coming up this Sunday. They haven't had a great defensive performance this season. You talk about another one in the Falcons where they're going to allow you to get some points scored on them. They do have 2 hard defenses in the Saints and the Browns, but I think that they are defenses that can be had. And I think Joe Burrow going into both of those games, the Browns and the Saints, he's going to have something like a chip on his shoulder in those games. I think he's going to definitely want to make a statement against those 2 teams. So I will say that I'm confident in an offense that they are going to get it going. You got to remember, they still haven't put up 30 yet, I believe, this season. So I think that the offense really gets it rolling through this stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a divisional game coming up on Sunday. It's in prime time. You never want to say this about a divisional game, but if you look at it on paper, it's a get-right game for an offense, the way they are giving up passing yards in very un-Raven-like clip. So, hopefully the passing game gets on track and, not that they aren't on track, but we could see the mean, right?
You know what scares me, though? We've seen this before, like where we were like, this is a defense that we should take advantage of. I remember vividly thinking about that Bears game last year. They had like backup corners. They were coming in there looking hobbled, and they did not attack them. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing I always question Zach Taylor. I don't think that he's a bad coach. I think he does some things really good. I think culturally, like if you go to a Super Bowl, you're not a bad coach. But there's also an element where you got to say, can this guy take me to the highest level too? And sometimes his feel for the game worries me. And a lot of times, like, you got to understand, you're coming in there against the 32nd ranked pass defense in the NFL. You got to light them up. Like, if you turn the ball over, don't you fall off of that. You come back and you light them up. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, don't get scared. Go to your guns. Your biggest asset is the biggest detriment to them. So you can't fall off of that this week. And he's got to understand that. If he comes out there and tries to scheme up some clever stuff and try to get, like, let me try to get Hurst involved early, I get it. But at the same time, your horses can kill. Like, they had, like, I seen less than wide receivers kill this team. So I know that they're capable of doing it. They just need the opportunities to do it. And that does worry me. And so a lot of Bengals fans are like, and we got to put 40. Not so fast. I'm not sure.
Well, the Bengals go on the road this week. You guys could be going on the road soon with the help of fans of Cincy. You want to talk to us about that?
Definitely, man. We're going to be hitting the road. New Orleans. It's going to be here before you know it. October 16th. Me and Zim is going to be partying on Bourbon Street, chilling in the French Quarter, sipping on a little something, some of that Zim juice that he had before that chant before Thursday Night Football. We're going to be chilling with some po' boys and all of that etouffee. Pull up on us, man. Like, we got all kind of exclusive tailgate party tickets, things like that. So if you're in New Orleans or if you haven't booked yet, book it now. Book it now, because by this time around next week or after the week after, we will be talking about New Orleans, how we went into the Dome and came out hopefully with another dub. But you do not want to miss that. If you missed the whiteout, you don't want to miss New Orleans. It's going to be a party. Chase and Joey B returning to Louisiana. You're going to miss that? You don't want to miss that. So make sure that you hit up fansofcincy.com, book your tickets, get your flight, get your food. Bro, the spread at the tailgate, I just got my itinerary, I think, last week, and I looked at it. I even showed it to my wife. She was like, this stuff is about to be fun. They got some stuff planned for us. So definitely be sure to check out Fans of Cincy, get your gumbo, and get to the game.
Well, that's going to wrap us up. This Thursday, we will be talking about those guys in purple with our preview for the Week 5 Sunday Night Football matchup. So we will go in depth on how we are looking forward to that game and what we want to see from the Bengals in that one. Any final thoughts, guys, before we get off?
It's Ratbird week. Let's get it. There's no more talking. There's no more none of that. We gonna see them. They gonna see us. We don't like them. They don't like us. Let's get it.
Well, we appreciate everyone for watching the Wincinnati podcast. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share it. Don't forget to tell your friends about it. And don't forget to be with us at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursday as we preview the game with the Ratbirds. We'll see you later.
Yes, sir. Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Houshmandzadeh, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
Exciting time to be a Bengals
How do
fan.
you balance being a professional athlete and family obligation? These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time, man.
Yeah.
Shock the world.